Hey everyone, I hope you were all doing great wherever and whenever you are watching this. The video I have for you today is a bunch of stories from Indonesia. These were posted on the X board in August and November of 2020. So as always, pull up a stump and you let me know if you think these are fact, or are they fiction, or are they just exaggerated. Let me know what you think down in the comments after the video. Thank you for watching. So I work a pretty terrible job, and this job is in Jakarta, Indonesia, and to be honest, living here is absolute crap. But there's lots of spooks around, and there's lots of ancient spooks around. Here's my first story. In 2018, I took 2 days off from work, and I bought a train ticket for a 7-hour ride. The train departs at night, so the whole journey is darkness outside of the train. I heard from the train drivers that at night some spooks are seen around the train tracks. I'm expecting to see some local spooks or ghosts. The train departs and nothing happens. I'm eventually bored on the train and I open up my laptop and start going on the internet. A few hours later though, I heard a distinct female scream in the next train coach. Thinking that someone was just broken-hearted or just got broken up with, I just ignore it. The train conductor and railway police on duty suddenly start running towards the scream. Now I'm intrigued. The railway police being present means something is definitely happening, but I think it's probably just passengers fighting each other as usual. At this time, the loud female screams get louder, with the train conductor and railway police shouting. This time, I actually have to get up and see what is happening. I start running into the next train coach. I saw the train conductor and railway police pinning down a female passenger. The female passenger is screaming and resisting the pinning down, at the same time making gestures like ancient local traditional dancing. I stop and I ask a fellow intrigued passenger nearby, what the hell's going on? She's possessed by a female ghost, maybe from the old train tunnel we just passed nearby. And I'm thinking, what does that mean? This random passenger I talked to seems to already know everything that is happening. The same random passenger assisting the train conductor starts doing an exorcism. The train indeed passes a 100-year-old tunnel. I heard stories about blood sacrifices and stuff during the tunnel's constructions that involved tribal dancers. During the whole ordeal, I just stood there wide-eyed, not really knowing what to do. Later on, though, in 2018, I'm still at my really crappy job, and it really sucks. So I decided to hang around more train stations, because I have a weird interest in trains now. I get involved in some railway passenger community services. I usually hang out in a central transit station in Jakarta. Eventually, I become personal friends with the train station master. So one night, during a sleepy midnight shift where nothing was going on, he invited me to have some coffee and cigarettes in his room. So I'm in there, chilling with him, and there's a security camera monitor set up in his working station. And he decides to have a peek around the CCTV cameras. There's this camera that's overlooking and monitoring the station's underground tunnel beneath platforms for passengers to use. There's nobody there, and it's empty. It's midnight already, so this is very normal. In the meantime, though, I decide to light a cigarette, looking away from the CCTV monitor for a while. When looking at the monitor again, I see a woman in a white dress standing still in the underground tunnel. And I think, maybe she's just a weirdo, you know? Pretty normal to see weirdos at midnight on the trains. I tried to focus on her, and suddenly she starts floating towards the tunnel's wall. Floating because there's no foot movements at all. She literally is just floating and moving. She disappears into the wall as if the tunnel just kind of swallows her, all in front of my eyes on a CCTV monitor. And for anyone wondering, there were no doors at all in the tunnel except for a janitor's storage closet or something like that. This one didn't happen to me, but to a friend of mine who works as a train driver. So he said that back when he was a new train driver, just recently finished the training, he was stationed in the Bandung area. Bandung area was notorious for spooks and sightings and all that kind of stuff at night. The train drivers on the night shifts always saw ghosts and stuff in the Bandung area and when they went through there. And of course, with his luck, this would be his very first driver assignment. So he's doing the night train schedule, and they depart the Bandung train station. They're passing by dark valleys and forests. There's no lights at all, only locomotive fog lights. Suddenly, he saw a woman in a red dress floating above in front of the locomotive. When focused on the woman, suddenly saw a silhouette of a man on the train tracks as well. He wants to hit the emergency brake, but at the last moment, he saw that the man is covered in blood and there's gores hanging from his torso. And at first he thinks it's a ghost, but at the exact moment the locomotive hit the deformed man, there was very clearly a thud. But they still think it's a ghost and decide not to pull the emergency brake. He plays it cool and nothing happens. The train driver assistant suddenly asks him, "You saw and heard that too, right?" And at this point he's absolutely crapping his pants. The driver assistant is already very familiar with things like this. He says something like, "This is your first assignment in this area, right? Don't worry, this was normal for a night train ride." The driver assistant just said that it's normal to see a woman floating in the mid-air in the middle of a dark forest. A few hours later, they arrived at the terminus station. He's sweating profusely. The station staffs ask what's happening, tell the whole story. They all laugh and said, "Yeah, we've seen it before too and it's pretty normal." But he fell sick for 3 days afterwards. He ended up receiving permits for a week from the local train company rep. The local rep actually says that it's normal for people who are new to fall ill for a week or so after they see stuff for the first time. The train company already knows that the spooks are part of their job. There's an urban legend in Indonesia, especially in places with tracks that have a level crossing. They say that there's demons there that inhabit them all, and they prey on unsuspecting humans by making them deaf so that they never hear the speeding train coming toward them. Locally, we call them Sitan Budeg. I personally think that I saw an occurrence of one of these level crossing demons preying on a human. So in 2019, I was still taking the train back and forth from my job. By this point, it's been years since I've been using the commuter train, so I already know the routes and everything. So near my train station, there is a small illegal level crossing. It's used by locals to cross the train tracks. It's been since dismantled as my train station has undergone a lot of renovations. The train tracks are usually walled off to prevent bystanders from wandering onto the tracks, but some locals always bore a hole or dug a hole big enough for them to cross. So on a normal morning at around 7 a.m., I was waiting for my commuter train along with the hundreds of other passengers on the station platform. You can see the illegal crossing from the station platform too. The station announces that there is an intercity train that will soon pass by, and the bell chimes start to ring as per normal. And then, from a hole in the wall in one of the slum areas, this random guy appears. He seems like he's a construction worker or something on a morning break. He's crossing the train tracks using the illegal level crossing, unaware of the speeding intercity train. And the guy doesn't even slow down a bit when the station chimes start blaring. And he doesn't even seem to notice the other passengers already screaming at him to watch for the speeding train. Then, the train hits him like a force no one has ever seen before. He literally smacked that hard at that part of his body, and he just kind of exploded and bounced like a rag doll for approximately 50 meters. Other passengers that see the whole ordeal are absolutely horrified. Some are crying. Me, myself, I just stood there in total shock and in silence, unable to process or think anything of what I had just seen. Soon, there are railway police and the station's security people. They covered up the corpse with newspapers because that's all they have. I don't know if that was a suicide attempt or if it was the level crossing demons. So back in 2019, it was a legislative and presidential election season. The candidates are all campaigning themselves and whoring to the general public. And of course, the presidential debates and campaign are stealing the spotlight. Almost no one talks about the legislative election stuff. So I was walking home at around 11 p.m. after disembark at the commuter train station. I suddenly see a stroke of light in the sky, kind of like a meteor almost, but dimmer. And I think, well, it's probably just a meteor then. But I hear a loud thud. It looks like the meteor hit one of the house's rooftops. So I'm still minding my own business. I just lit a cigarette and kept walking. When walking near the house that I had heard the thud earlier, I heard shrieking and screaming coming from the house. For a moment, I saw a middle-aged man lying on the floor while convulsing, surrounded by his panicking relatives. A neighbor runs to the scene. Some people are spooked, but some are just being really quiet about it. I overhear some of the neighbors talking, and they're saying that this man has been hexed by black magic sent by a shaman. It turns out that the man is one of the candidates for the legislative elections. One of his political opponents apparently hired a shaman to curse him. And I'm crapping my pants at this point, but I keep minding my own business, walking along the scene, and I'm thinking, holy shit, is this even real? What's going on? So fast forward to 2020, and I was remote working for a few months already due to the whole thing going on with the corona. So while doing this remote work and stuff, I take a week vacation in mid-August, and I book a train ticket to Yogyakarta for me and my girlfriend. So fast forward when we're already there and I'm doing stuff with my girlfriend. So day 3 on the vacation, my girlfriend suggests that we should go to the sacred Parangkusumo beach. And I definitely want to go too, so my girlfriend contacts her friend to accompany us to the beach. There were 4 of us at this time. There was me, my girlfriend's friend Anne, and my girlfriend's boyfriend, Riz. So Anne had her left arm fractured, and we're using Anne's car. The 4 of us are driving to the beach at noon. And obviously this is hours before sunset. This particular beach is very sacred for Javanese beliefs due to being the area of the sacred sea queen. So me, my girlfriend, and Riz, Anne's boyfriend, are sitting around the beach just kind of smoking and stuff. Anne suddenly had the urge to walk to the beachhead towards the waves. Mind you too, the waves on this beach are always really rough, normally 3 to 4 meters, along with strong winds. When Anne is standing near the shores, the waves in her proximity are suddenly calming down, while the wind is still strong all around her. And I say, holy shit, are you guys seeing this? Look at the waves. And we can't see anything outside of the waves, and Anne's proximity are almost non-existent, while the other part still looks like a mini tsunami. My girlfriend and Riz saw it too. The waves at Anne's proximity are almost non-existent. And I say, do you think what I'm thinking? My girlfriend says yes, but we better not talk about it here. You know the reason. Riz says, I agree. After approximately 1 hour, we saw Anne meditating in the shores, protected by calm waves. She returned to us later near the parking lot, with her left arm, fractured hand, already recovered. And I'm thinking, what the hell? And she's all smiles, just like somebody won the lottery. And her boyfriend says, you met her, didn't you? The queen. And she just nodded. So this is just a side note. I recorded these stories in 2 separate parts because halfway through the second part my laptop died and it didn't save it, so yay me. So the second half is more about the trains, and I hope your butt's not hurting from the stump yet, so let's jump back in. Hey, it's me again. I'm that Indonesian guy. Some of you recognized my railroad-related spooky stories that I posted a while ago. These stories I posted all happened when I was still a frequent passenger on these trains. Now I'm involved in some project with the National Railroad Company and the Ministry of Transportation as a freelancer. I got some free time right now and a few days off, so I figured what better time to tell everybody more stories that happened to my railroading experiences here in Indonesia. So first of all, to update people, by this time I wasn't just a guy working from paycheck to paycheck. I was a salaryman at this point. I still hated my job, but the money was good. I was still a frequent commuter on the train. So this happened in September of 2019. I had to work a bunch of overtime at the office, so I had to catch the midnight train. I wonder if it was going anywhere. So after some time, I arrived at the transit station. Now this station is the same transit station that I saw some woman apparition on the underpass to the CCTV, as I mentioned before. This train station has 8 platforms. In platform 1 and 2, there are commuter trains rested there after daily checking for tomorrow's operation. Some of the train's doors are opened for normal procedure. This allows people from the entry gate to cross over to platform 4 to platform 8. So as for me, I'm waiting for the midnight train in platform 4. This would take me to my terminus station. Out of sheer curiosity, I walked over to the commuter train that has been powered down in the platform 2. I stepped in through the open door, and it was really dark in there, although the actual station was properly lit like usual. And I swear to God, I saw someone sitting in the chair. like two coaches for my position. But at the same time, that someone is kind of like transparent, like a shadow person. I try to think that it's just like a lighting effect from the outside or something, but then the guy just disappears. So I think that this is definitely not the lighting, and I realize that my train has finally arrived, so I run my ass off of platform 2 to my platform to embark on the midnight train, and I try to forget that I saw a shadow person, but I still remember it to this day. And this wasn't even the first time I saw a shadow person inside the commuter train. One thing I learned over the years was that this station is damn haunted. I had several other encounters with apparitions inside the damned commuter trains, and the station master even said that he too has had quite a few experiences on the CCTV. But back in August of 2018, I was going home at midnight using the commuter train because again I had to work overtime at the office. So I arrived at the transit station waiting for my train that's still a few stations away. So I just chill and hang out for a while on the transit station. I bought some snacks from the street vendor outside the train station. So when I go back inside, I just kinda chill in the powered down commuter trains that are already rested in platform 1 and 2. So I'm sitting on the couch area when I'm eating my street snack, and it was absolutely delicious if anybody's wondering. So after I finished, I get up and tried to find the trash bin. While I walked to the open door, I had the urge to turn my head around. So I turned around, and there's some white apparition of a man or woman, I don't know, standing a few train coaches away from me in the doorway. Instead of freezing in fear, I immediately took my phone out and photographed it. The midnight commuter train arrived at platform 4, and I booked my ass off the dark train in platform 1 and ran over to the other platform. I embarked on the train and sat down in the train coach and opened up the photograph I just took. And I noticed that my phone did not capture the white apparition that was right in front of me. So this next one happened on Friday, the 12th of April in 2019. There was some opening of a new double train track alongside the old double track. The opening actually disrupted the entire commuter train on that particular line, so the train was delayed up to 2 hours to all routes to Jakarta and outside Jakarta. So on the same day, I already can't go home early on Friday night due to the train schedule being dumb at that particular day. So I decided to hang around the main terminus station in Jakarta, Jakarta Kota train station. It's this huge terminus station, 12 platforms, built back in 1929 by the Dutch colonial government. So I was doing some random stuff such as street food hunting, drinking, and just hanging out like a dumbass. At around 11:20 p.m., 15 minutes before the scheduled midnight train departs to my train station, so I start heading over to platform 12, my usual platform with the midnight train to my terminus station, and I just start waiting the departure time. So eventually I get there and there's no train. I look at the schedule. My supposed midnight train is just 2 stations away, but still on the way to my terminus station, and then return to Jakarta Kota as the scheduled last midnight train of that night. Now if you're confused, it just means that I arrived a few minutes too late. It took more than 1.5 hours to complete this journey. The remaining passengers have already boarded the train, the gates already closed, no more passengers there except for me. And I'm thinking, shit, here I am alone at midnight in an old colonial train station. What could go wrong, right? So at 45 minutes waiting like a dumbass, I had the urge to pee. So I go to the stand-in toilet and finish my business, relieved. I go to walk outside, and just before I get to the door, suddenly I hear the taps turn on, and I swear to God I was the only one in there the entire time. So I walk outside, and the toilet cleaning staff is taking a break the whole time in a different part. Not quite as creepy as some of the other ones, but still weird nonetheless. So this one happened to a good friend of mine who was an avid rail fan. So he was a rail fan since the 1990s, and by this point it's 2009, so he's photo hunting with other rail fans. They decided to go photo hunting on West Java Railroad Network. So they boarded this local train and arrived at the back Juro station. And this station is in the middle of absolute nowhere in West Java, surrounded by forest and mountains. In fact, there's only just a few houses nearby, and that's it. So they're getting along with the station master very easily, which is obvious since he's probably pretty lonely on his job. So they're doing their photo hunting and stuff, and it's during the afternoon at this point, so they're screwing around with the station staffs all the way until night, which is a great relief for them, and it's a lot of joy for the rail fans. So they decide to sleep on the train station, as the local train that stops there will arrive tomorrow at noon. Tired, they decide to go to sleep. The station staff happily shares their rooms for them to sleep there. So it's midnight at 00 a.m. or around 1 a.m. or something like that. So my friend wakes up with a huge urge to take a shit. It's dark everywhere save for some lamps at the station building, and you can't see anything outside, not even the forest that's directly in front of the station. And by this point too, everybody is already asleep. Some of them sleep in the staff's room, and some of them just sleep on the platform of the station. Only the station master and train dispatcher are still awake. They're doing nothing, they're just monitoring the radio comms. So my friend walks by and goes to the station's toilet. While almost to the toilet, suddenly an apparition of a lady in a white dress is floating down the toilet room to the railroad tracks. Then she just disappears in the darkness, right on the track. So my friend is absolutely terrified at seeing this and decides to hold his poop until sunrise. The station security saw him standing frozen in fear near the toilet room. They say, "What's wrong? Did you see the lady in white?" And he is absolutely crapping his pants at this point. He just says, "Yeah." And they say, "Don't worry, she's pretty harmless and usually just curious with the outsiders, aka non-station staff." And it scared him a lot just how nonchalant and familiar they already were with it, even the station master and the train dispatcher. So this last one was from back in April 2016, when I was a college student. I already loved traveling using the intercity trains, so I booked a train ticket from Semarang to Malang. I was invited to Malang by my best friend to just kinda screw around for shits and giggles. So I embarked from Semarang using the Matarmaja train, which would be about a 10-hour ride. There was some railroad improvement project going on to make a whole active train track in Java Island to be a double track instead of the usual single track since back in the colonial era. It means a lot of stopping in the middle of nowhere to wait for another train to pass by the opposite way. So about 1 hour into the ride, we're approaching the city of Surakarta. The train stops at Salem Station, at the outskirts of the city. Since Salem Station is in the middle of nowhere, it's total darkness outside. The only light is the light from the train coach's window to the darkness outside. I decide to just kinda go out and smoke some cigarettes. Since there's rules that dictate that there's no smokes on board the train, I have to actually get off the train for a few minutes to light my cigarette. So before I get off the train using the train coach's door, I decide to take a photo of Salem Station with my terrible phone camera because why not? So I go out, lit my cigarette, and there's nothing happening. I go back to the train and continue the trip to Solo, then Malang. I decide to go back and look at the photo that I took in the Salem Station. It looks like there's a black apparition standing on the station platform. And I swear to you there was no one there at the train station when the train stopped there. And as I wrote out all these stories, sitting somewhere near the train station just a few minutes ago, suddenly I heard a loud thud on the roof directly above me. I checked outside, but there's no trees or anything that might cause it. I think something tried to screw with me mentally, using abnormal means. So screw all that, I'm done with the stories, that's all I can tell you for now. So what did you think of those? Do you think they were real? Do you think they were fake? Let me know what you think down in the comments. One thing I will say though is that one thing that this group of stories made me want to do was try the street food in that area because it sounds like delicious as hell. I don't even know what it would be, I just want to try it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed pulling up a stump as always. I thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, please consider liking and subscribing. It's up to you. And if you want to, I have a Patreon and a PayPal, so you can donate to the PayPal just one time if you want to, or become a patron. So I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching.